Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is trying to anticipate her new partner's needs. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
Correct. And I am wrong at least 2/3 of the time when trying to anticipate the needs of my partners.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's really real.
Just kidding. I'm an Enneagram 2. I am 99% correct, even when they tell me I'm not.
Yeah. It's like, no, yeah. I know what you're feeling, right? And they're like, no, I'm not. And you're like, no, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, this is all to say, Sam and I are not professionals, so please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, it's Monday, so we're going to do a quick check-in topic before we dive into our letter this week. The check-in topic is inspired by an idea I had. I don't have any inspiration. It was inspired by something, but I just can't remember what it was. Like, I don't know, something I saw online or in our Facebook group or something. But I was curious, Samuel, somebody who has been in your relationship for quite some time and is married. Let's imagine a hypothetical world in which that crumbles.
Oh, I don't want to.
I don't want it to either. But like, if we could just like, the crumbling happened, but we didn't have to feel any of it. And we're just like in the future and you're single and I'm single. Okay. The crumbling, both of our lives crumbled, basically. We are no longer married. We are past the painful part. We want to date. You and I are single, ready to mingle, ready to make a profile. The check-in topic today is just, what would you prioritize in your dating profile? Or what would you say? What would you share in it? I think back, before you answer, I think back to some of the first, 20 episodes of Just Break Up, in which I know we talked about like how to craft a dating profile or, what to look for on dating profiles or how to navigate the hellscape that is social media's version of connection and like how and what to communicate on there. So I'm looking back on that advice and sort of thinking ahead to this improbable future and like what we would say.
That's real.
Yeah.
I think that like in this iteration of my life, I think I look back at like the dating profiles that I made before Peter and I were together, and it's like, keep in mind that this was like 10 years ago. It's like a long time. That I feel like, and I was also like 24 or whatever. So like, I feel like my profile was like trying to look really cool, like trying to be like witty and like a little sardonic and like, trying to convey like a personality. And now I think I would just be much more like, here are my interests. Yes. Do you want to talk about any of these?
That is so funny because I have the same instinct of like, I just tried so hard. I listed the coolest books I've ever not read. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You're like, I'm so into James Joyce, and it's like that book has been sitting on my shelf for 15 years and I have never opened it once.
Yeah. And I think I would also be like, okay, I'm here looking for connection. I have a daughter or whatever, and I like to do this in my spare time. I don't know. Like, it would be no coolness. It would be like, I like to cook. I don't know.
For sure. Absolutely.
What else would you say?
I think I would try to like also be like honest about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I feel like, again, when I was young, it would be like, what are you up to? And I'd be like, but like, really, I would just be like sitting in my couch, like doing nothing. Yeah, absolutely. I would be much more like, I don't know. I'm watching The Good Wife for the third time through in this moment. So I don't know. Are you an
appropriate movie post your imaginary divorce?
Absolutely. I'm like, I really am resonating with Juliana Margulies in this moment. She's also going through it. I would also, I think, be more clear about like what are some of my values and kind of like what I'm looking for as well.
Yeah.
And like,
how do you think you would phrase that?
Like, I'm on this godforsaken app. No, just kidding. I'm here looking for somebody who is interested in more than just casual and is, you know, living or trying to live in the values that they have around, you know, community, interconnectedness, healing.
Ooh, I like
that
that
kind of stuff.
Somebody sent me a screenshot of their profile that now says that after this episode airs.
Please do.
I like that
Take
because
it.
my other question was like, I think when I was younger, I would say like open to casual, but here for a long-term connection, I think is what I said. And I think I have no idea what it would feel like to date post having children. So I truly don't know where it would fall between casual and interested in something else or something more committed. But I would phrase it something like that, using those words and like specifying what I was interested in, you know, not interested in casual, interested in a committed connection, or, you know, interested in both or whatever. Just here for a good time. And I was also going to ask, when I was younger, I think I put in there, like, this is all the rage on Tumblr, feminists, was to like put in like third wave feminist, or, you know, a nod, BLM, a nod to your social political values. But the way you said it right there just is the 2.0 version of Sam. It is the 2.0 version of that. And I was going to ask, like, how do you nod to your values in a dating app?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I would list them. Like, I would actually like put them out there. I think also I would like name that I'm a queer non-binary person as well, to like, again, mostly because I would not want to waste my time on people who were like not ready or like willing to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and this is a person who loves to go on first dates. You know, like I love it, but I also am like, I want to go on first dates with people I can have like a fun and interesting conversation with, who are like at least at a level where we can know that we can have respect for each other's values. Not that I can't respect, like, I don't know, conservatives' values. We just like wouldn't have anything to talk about because I'd be like, oh, you're wrong. Like,
yeah, you'd be arguing a lot. Right.
Like, cool. Have fun with that. Yeah, I mean, that's why I would do it. That's why I would want to be upfront to do some initial weeding. Although, you know, I know that people just go on dating apps and they swipe yes on every person, and then they talk to the people who also swipe back on them, and that's how they just do it, which is chaotic but fun for them, maybe.
Maybe. Okay, last question, because I feel like I'm getting a good idea. Is there any like cute, fun trivia or quote or some sort of personality flair?
A little flair
that you would put on it. Yeah, like a little pin of personality.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put like a Lord of the Rings or like a Star Trek quote in there so that folks would know what they're getting into. Or like some sort of quote from like a Russian novel to just be like, this is the level of nerdery that you're going to be entering into. And like, you don't have to know everything about it, but you have to be willing to engage with it. You know, like Peter and I are very nerdy about very different things, but like we at least appreciate each other's nerdiness enough to be able to like hang with each other. You know, like it's like I can look at Peter's horror movies and be like, these aren't necessarily for me, but I get like I'm interested in how interested you are in them, and I love when you tell me all of the details about it. Like that's fun for me.
Yeah. I think mine would be don't Google me.
That would be funny. Please do not look at my YouTube page or any button poetry pages. Don't.
I used to tell people that I was dating. This is a tangent that we do not have to go into, but I used to tell people that I was dating to like literally not Google me. But now that I'm like an adult and I'm like proud of my career and our podcast, just put don't Google me, and then
they'll Google you immediately.
Or they won't, and they'll just assume I have like some crazy record or, you know.
Which Maybe you do. We don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Woman of mystery. Okay.
That's the woman who's made an entire 20-year career off of just telling everyone every detail about her life.
Literally, everybody knows everything about me except for the exact shape of my vulva at this point.
But I'm sure there are pictures of it that exist.
Yeah, the life, the day is young.
Who knows what's going to happen in the next 20 years,
Yeah,
things
knows?
could
Who
just
knows?
really go
Yeah.
in a different direction.
Yeah, or the same direction it's been going.
It's just further and further into the extremes.
Yeah, exactly. The extreme vulnerability. It's oh, you want my parental trauma, my body insecurities? Here's my entire... Okay, anyway. Right, so that was a fun check-in topic. Let's get into today's letter.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so this letter comes from eldest daughter trying her best, whose pronouns are she, her, who's writing from Albany, New York. Hi, Sam and... Maybe it's a neighbor. I, 25, female, have been dating my partner, 24, non-binary, for about 4 months. Things are going great, and I feel so lucky that they have chosen to share their life with me. Early into our relationship, their grandma, who they are very close to, was unfortunately hospitalized and has not been doing well ever since. It's looking like she is going to pass away in the next few days, and we are preparing for a pretty challenging couple of weeks/months. We have had several conversations leading up to her passing about my partner's preference for my level of involvement, e.g., attendance of services, maintaining open lines of communication, and how they anticipate that they will need to be supported. I am an eldest daughter who specializes in managing other people's emotions and tends to feel anxious when someone close to me is upset and I can't, quote, fix it, tale as old as time. I have been working on self-regulating when these feelings come up because I know it is not my partner's or anyone's burden to solve for. However, I feel like I have a hard time with trying to anticipate my partner's needs during their grieving process and potentially overwhelming them, instead of trusting that they can and will communicate their needs. They have reiterated that my presence alone is comforting to them and that they will express their support needs as they continue to change throughout the grieving process, and I believe them. I, very fortunately, have never lost someone very close to me or been in a situation where my partner has, so I'm trying to navigate how to support them in all of the ways, while also self-soothing my own anxieties. How should I approach supporting my grieving partner? I know both of you have some experience being on both sides of the situation, so any and all musings are greatly appreciated. Thanks again for everything that you do. Eldest daughter trying her best.
Oh my goodness, my darling, thank you so much for writing, for trusting us with this letter, for listening, and for being my neighbor here in Albany. I am so grateful that you are not only preparing to support your partner in such a loving and empathetic way, but you're also, you have the self-awareness to recognize past patterns in your life and the courage to attempt to change them, and hold yourself accountable to the partner that you want to be. You're doing all the right things right now, and you have come to the right place in terms of advice about this, because we have me, who is a chronic caretaker and people pleaser, and Sam, who has dealt with unimaginable forms of grief from all different directions.
Jesus Christ.
Did I do that right? Did I summarize that right? Only you and I can laugh at that. It's the trauma laugh from 2020 is back.
Absolutely. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
I think we could scale it back a little bit.
How about this? Imaginable forms of grief.
Imaginable.
From a couple different directions. There we go.
Perfect. That feels more attuned to what is actually happening.
Okay. Okay. So you're here. You're in the right place. We are going to give you some advice as to how to move forward in the coming months. But first, we're going to take a very quick break.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Yes, eldest daughter. I so appreciate so many of the things that you said about your experience of trying to support your partner through this. You know, I am not an eldest daughter, but I think sometimes the birth order in my family got weirdly messed up.
Oh yeah.
Where
Definitely.
I am also the one in my family that has to understand, anticipate, and caretake for my family's needs. This was especially true of my dad who had diagnosed but untreated mental health issues. And so much of my childhood was, I think, like you, trying to figure out what he was feeling and how I could be the one to help make him feel better, right? That was the role that I had. So I so deeply understand this feeling that you're having of like, I know this pattern, right? Like I know for a fact that when I can see that my partner is upset and their eyes might be welling up or they're quiet, I'm going to be like, they need something. It's my job to fix this. Absolutely. And I'm really impressed that you are discovering this and understanding this about yourself at the age of 25. I didn't know this about myself until I was into my 30s. So I'm like, you have a leg up on me, and I'm really impressed and proud of you for like knowing this about yourself and for thinking about like, what are the tools, not just the tools that I need to fix this problem, right? Like to make my partner feel better as they're processing through this grief, but also what are the tools that I need to soothe myself when I feel this anxiety, this pattern begin to erupt in me where I need to fix things. And if I'm not fixing things, then I'm somehow doing something wrong, right? I'm not doing my job, or things are going to get worse if I don't do anything, or I'm the only one who can fix this, right? Like all of those sort of stories that get told by our families of origin and that impact us. This is really hard. It's incredibly hard to be a support service, or it's incredibly hard to be a support system for somebody who is grieving, right? Because, so much of grief is so internal, right? We can see that something's happening. So much of grief is also unexpected or confusing, right? And your partner might be confused about what they're feeling. And then you're out here being like, give me the words. Like, what are you feeling? Do you need cake? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to just sit here and cry? Right. And it's like,
are you mad at me?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you not love me anymore?
Yeah,
and I think like
it's real.
the reality is that like when you're experiencing grief, at least in my experience, and I think in the experience of folks that I have helped process through grief, a lot of it is also like, I don't fucking know what I need. And I don't even know what I'm feeling, right? Like all of those different emotions and all of those different needs that are coming up. And so it can be really hard to be on the end of that, trying to say like, okay, I'm trying to anticipate, I'm trying to support, I'm trying to offer, and they don't even know what to tell me about what they're feeling. Like so stressful, so totally get it. And I don't mean that to say like, I'm telling you this not because I'm like, okay, so then you have to read between the lines and figure it out and like anticipate and get ahead of it. I'm telling you this because I want you to be prepared for the fact that you're not going to be able to prepare fully for everything that's going to come up here. And there's going to be like crunchy times in this where they don't know what they want. They might not know how to express it to you. And your job is just kind of to sit in the discomfort of the fact that they don't know, and that there's nothing that you can do to help them figure that thing out.
Yes. It's not your job to figure out, to anticipate their needs fully and truly. There's some needs you're like, oh, this person needs to eat. They haven't eaten yet. Let me make them a sandwich. I don't know. But I think that's a huge lesson to take away from this, is that we can prepare and we can prepare and we can prepare and we can communicate with our partners too. Like, what do you think you're going to need? And then when grief comes, like it always does, it's not a game of preparedness. It's a game of presentness. The ability to be in the moment, self-soothe, be present and ready if the partner needs something. But you can't have like a play-by-play. You can't have a blueprint of how this is going to go down, especially in advance. I want to add to that really beautifully put piece of advice from Sam, that a little like mantra you can say to yourself, that their discomfort is welcome here, that they have a right to their discomfort, they have a right to their grief and their sadness, and that it's welcome here. Unlike other scary emotions that you were taught to fear and you were taught to fix, their discomfort, their grief, it's welcome here. You're gonna pull it up a chair. You're going to make room for it. You're not going to try to smother it or silence it or put it away or, quote, fix it, because there's nothing wrong with it. And you're not at risk being around it. For me, it's that. Unfortunately, any big emotion, I instantly get nervous that something is wrong. And in a situation like this, it sounds so silly, but you have to be like, things are wrong.
They are. They are really wrong.
There is grief.
Absolutely.
Somebody did pass, or there is hurt here, and that's okay. Unlike what you were taught, or unlike what you learned to believe through your lived experiences, those big, painful emotions don't necessarily equate that you are unsafe, or in my case, unloved, or whatever. Their discomfort is welcome here. It's welcome here.
Yeah, and it's not something we need to fight or get rid of or sweep under the rug, which often happens, right? Like, it's just that the discomfort is there because things are uncomfortable. You know, your partner's going to be sad because things are sad. Like, it's a really normal and understandable response to something that's really hard to deal with, the passing of somebody that's really close to them.
Yeah, and I just want to articulate a scenario that I just remembered that I see a lot in these situations in me and in other people. I think when us caretakers try to solve the problem for people who are suffering, and the person who is suffering doesn't necessarily know what they need, then all of a sudden that puts the caretaker in a tizzy, and we are upset and we're dysregulated and we feel like we don't have a job or that we're unsafe or whatever. And that actually forces this person who is struggling to caretake for us, to put on their big kid pants and be like, well, no, I'm okay. You don't have to take care of me. Like, you're okay, whatever. Obviously, I'm generalizing here, but I do think that is a pattern that happens. And that pattern alone is one of the ways that I help remind myself, that this person's discomfort is okay. It's okay if I don't know all the answers, because I want to accept my discomfort so that they don't have to fix it for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a self-soothing cycle that gives to me as much as it gives to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important, as you're thinking about this too, is who's the person or people that you go to for support and how difficult it is to support somebody who's grieving, right? It's kind of like sometimes folks will talk about it as the circles of grief, where there's the people at the core who are the people who are closest, the, family, the close friends, the whatever it is. And then there are the folks outside who are trying to support the person who's experiencing that grief and may have grief of their own if they had relationship with the person who passed. And then there's the outer circle of folks who are, sad, obviously, that this has happened, but maybe not personally connected to it, but are connected to the people who are experiencing the grief. And so part of the job is, as somebody who's kind of in that second circle where you're tending to somebody who is feeling and experiencing the grief most intensely, to then turn around and say to the people on the outer side and say okay, here's what I need for support, right? I need to go out for coffee and talk to you about what I'm going through. Or, can I text you about what's happening and have you remind me? It's not my job to fix this. Your job is just to be there, right? Who are the people that you can also go to help in this support role that you are going to be experiencing? Because it is difficult, right? Sometimes we undermine it because it's well, it wasn't my grandma who died. And it's yes. And also, cat.
Sorry. He just shows me affection so little.
Yeah.
That I wanted to pick him up. And he's definitely Maloo's boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
They both have the same chaotic energy.
100%.
All right. You were saying, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You can cut all that out. I didn't mean for that to happen.
We undermine ourselves by saying it wasn't my grandmother who passed, right? It was their grandmother. So I shouldn't be feeling bad about this, or I shouldn't be experiencing this grief. I didn't know her, right? Right. But the reality is that somebody who is important to somebody who's important to you has passed. And that is its own form of grief, right? That is its own form of upset, right? So the folks who are less connected and who still love you can be a support system to help you do what you need to do in order to continue to support the person who is kind of most impacted by the passing of what sounds like a really wonderful grandmother. Also, just like a really tactical piece of advice that I was given by my therapist as well. After my dad died, the thing that she would ask me in most of our sessions was like, what's one thing that feels good that you can do today? And that was a sort of a mantra that kind of helped in that process, right? So that helped me get out of the house. It helped me eat good food. It helped me see friends more, right? It was just like, what's one thing that you're going to do today that feels good? And I offer that as a way for you and your partner to talk about like, what does moving forward look like? Sometimes Peter and I will ask each other when we're kind of in a bad place, if we're feeling the grief coming up or because of what's happened to us or because of other things, we'll sometimes say like, what's one thing that would feel good? Right. And so maybe that can be a tool. And sometimes the answer is like literally nothing. And then we're just like, okay, cool. So then we'll just do nothing. Right. And sometimes the answer is, I'm going to go take a nap. Or sometimes it would be, let's go see a movie, right? Like there's lots of different things that might feel good. But I offer that as some like a tangible tool that the two of you can use to help, not necessarily like end the grief, but sometimes disrupt it, to say like, our job isn't necessarily to figure out how to process through this grief in its totality, but our job is to figure out like one thing per day that can make us feel good and remind us that like good things are still out there in the face of this grief.
I love that so much. And I know it works. Like,
it did.
I get chills thinking about that because I know it works. That was great. Thanks for sharing that. And thank you to our letter writer for trusting us with this letter. We are sending a lot of love and compassion and support to you and your partner during the upcoming months. And we know you can do this.
Absolutely.
We love you.
Thank you so much for writing. We hope this helps.
We hope this helps.
All right,
Sorry,
everyone. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for
Nobody watches the videos. Cut it. It wasn't for them. It's for Sam. All right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like to join us for our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get access to not just weekly bonus episodes, but also like 100 and plus.
Bajillion.
It's just so
Gotta
many.
be like 200 at this point.
So many. Yeah, you could
bonus
do
episodes.
Like 2 months of Patreon and listen to all of them and then cancel. Like we would be fine with that. Like that's totally fine. But the office hours are great, so you should definitely join us for those. It's as little as $5 a month. Patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakup.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Justbreakuppod.com.
What did I say?
Justbreakup.com.
That's so funny. Leave it in. Leave it in so they know that we are absolute idiots.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on.
6 years.
It helps us reach more brokenhearted souls.
The same website.
Absolutely. It's been the same since we started, before we started, because the website came first.
Yeah.
This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music recording, producing, editing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music and his mustache. Did I say that last time? I'm just still really pumped about it. And remember, your job is not to perfectly anticipate your loved one's needs. Instead, your job is to relieve yourself of that responsibility so that you can be more fully present, fully capable, and fully compassionate for them in their time of need. And if all else fails,
just break up.